What's up guys, it's good to see you guys again. Today we're going to be on a media drive with Mitsubishi in the new Expander. We're going to be driving all the way from KL to Negeri Sembilan to this place called Hooton Retreat. So as you can see, quite a bit of stuff to carry, goodie bags, camera bags and whatnot. So without further ado, we're going to load up our stuff into the back of the car. It'll be a good first test of how much the car's boot can swallow to give you an idea how much space is remaining. That's all you have to play with. Okay, let me set up my Apple. Whoa! Nice! They've even got an iPhone for us to work the Apple CarPlay. Not bad, not bad. Not a 12 though. My phone's better though. I'm gonna use this. So we just got out of Mitsubishi's HQ in Saujana, Subang. It's gonna be quite a long day of driving actually. They are expecting us to be back by like 6-7 p.m. I don't think I'm gonna stay out for too long. But it's gonna be quite an interesting drive because the route that they've set up for us consists a bit of urban driving, a bit of highway driving. I believe we will be on the Lata Highway if I'm not mistaken. And then we're gonna go to Kuala Klawang. We're going to be able to test the car's cabin insulation when it's cruising on the highway. We'll be able to find out what the hype is all about regarding the suspension, which has adopted a few of the Lancer Evolution's components. The first test of the car's performance. We are hitting the highway now, leaving Subang. Low-end performance between 2,000-3,000, very quiet, very smooth. Well, it's been a few years since I've last driven the Toyota Rush. But from what I can remember, this 1.5 litre engine so far does feel a little bit beefier. Although, let me try to get on the fast lane. Okay, so if you're really hammering the throttle, pushing the engine all the way to the red line, it does feel a little more refined compared to the Toyota Rush and the Honda BR-V. We've got about 137 kilometers to go, expected to arrive by 12. It's 10 o'clock now. Oh, it's gonna be quite some drive. Turning on to the Elite Highway, right, we're going through the first bend, first big loop, and I must say, the car actually feels very stable through the bends. What? I mean, when you look at the car from the outside with its raised ride height, you know, the claimed 205mm ground clearance, you'd expect it to, I suppose, wallow, but like from what I experienced earlier, the car doesn't lean as much as I would expect it to. Honestly, it's actually quite confidence inspiring. Is that the Evo influence? I can't tell you how good it feels to be going outstation again. After months of staying in KL, actually no, months of staying in the area where I live, confined in that area where I live. Oh, being able to drive more than, I don't know, 5 kilometers is actually quite fun. Got a bit of an empty stretch. gonna really try to push the engine. Pedal is hard on the floor. The little 1.5 is going. It's not going by much, but it's going. With a bit of downhill assistance, I have reached, oh wow, a very, very high speed actually. Okay, so it does get a bit louder in the cabin. Cabin insulation, I would say, is pretty decent, below 100 kilometers an hour. But after that, you know, I mean, this car isn't built for the Autobahn, so it's fair, I guess. But you'd be mad to drive the Expander this fast, especially with your whole family inside. Come on. But hey, you know what? From what, that 100 kilometers an hour all the way to the 160, aside from the engine screaming at you, asking you why are you doing this, the power delivery is actually rather smooth. Aside from the wind noise, I must say, the way the car sits on the road, it actually feels quite composed. I don't think I had the same experience when I was in the Toyota or the Honda equivalent. Definitely not to this standard. Okay, so like I said, we're on the Elite Highway and cruising at just above the speed limit. And because I'm driving, I can't really get, you know, what it feels like at the back. But since we have our videographer on board, what do you think about the ride so far in the back seat?
I think it's
not too jumpy.
Bouncy. Yeah, it's not bouncy. It's very steady. Even when you drive like crazy.
What about the noise though? Like, it's because it's like quite quiet here with the thicker windows in the front, but like at the back.
I'll be completely honest with you. I think it's quite apparent here, the noise.
The noise is quite apparent now. Okay.
It's quite steady back here.
Okay. You don't feel much of the body roll, do you?
Don't really.
Okay. Got about a full tank here, and the range actually says 500 kilometers. Now that we're cruising a bit longer, it's actually about 510. We're going through somewhat of an uphill climb on the Elite Highway. Not sure if you're seeing this. Foot is firm on the floor. It's going lah, it's going. But you know, considering the incline, the uphill climb, this is acceptable lah. It's a shame that they don't have a turbocharged engine. I think maybe like a 1 liter turbocharged engine with, you know, more torque would probably benefit this car a lot more. But this is what it is, and I think you'd find it sufficient. So we've got about 80 kilometers left to go on this journey, and I think I'm gonna get on Spotify and just play some tunes. Since we've got Apple CarPlay, right? Might as well make use of it. Up the volume on the steering here, which by the way, it looks like the one you get in the Outlander. In fact, even the instrument cluster as well. Definitely very convenient now. We've got cruise control as well. Let's see what the 6 speakers sound like. It's not bad lah. I mean, the bass is not very like full and beefy, but it's there. And the sound clarity is actually quite I'm genuinely impressed. This is one of the very few songs that I use to test the car sound system, and when the beat drops, that's when, you know, you can tell lah whether the sound system is good or not. Okay, I guess since we're not very far off, we're gonna take it a little slower and just slowly take in all the little details in the cabin of the car. I noticed they have 2 buttons here on the dashboard. One is to, okay, go through the functions. On the instrument cluster, you have different displays and whatnot. And then the other one pretty much shows me the front view from the camera that's mounted on the bumper. Again, not very clear. Very large display, not like the reverse display, but again, clarity is not quite there. Press again, and then I have the side view and also the bird's eye view. Press again, I have another side view. This is on the left of the car. Earlier was on the right side of the car. And now I have this somewhat split screen. And that's it. It's quite useful, especially when it comes to parking. But then again, this car is quite high. It's got a 205mm ground clearance, so curbs really wouldn't be an issue, to be honest. Quite fancy, this leather interior as well. I mean, it's well, all hard plastic, but at least the appearance of it does not look cheap, especially with these carbon fiber-ish weave type of design by the side here, and then on the dashboard as well. You can see the effort that they've put in to, you know, at least try to make the car feel a bit more upmarket. I'm glad they went with this black leather interior and not the beige ones that they get in Indonesia. What I don't really like though is this diamond quilted design on the backrest of the seat. I guess you can argue that, you know, it gives somewhat of a premium feel, you know, especially like all these really high-end car makers, they make these kind of designs. But personally, it's not for me lah. Does the music keep cutting off? Oh, what? It's because of the Waze instructions. Each time Waze gives me an instruction through the Apple CarPlay, it cuts off the music entirely. What? So you get like music playing and then cut, and then music playing and then music cut. That's weird. Instead of like, you know, fading in and then you still have some music in the background while the Waze is giving you instruction. This is very weird. We are completely done with the highway, and from the looks of the map, it's nothing but winding roads all the way. Expander Evolution. Let's see what you got. I really must say, for a car that rides this tall and looks the way it does, I'm actually quite surprised at how stable the car feels through the bends. Like, just when you think you need to like slow down a bit, no, just turn. The car will take it. What I'm trying to say is there's very minimal body roll. There is body roll, but very minimal, and not to the point that you actually have to feel like, ooh, you have to manage the car. I'm sure you've experienced that kind of feeling before. Whereas this one, it feels very firm, very assuring. Well, the steering is not exactly the most direct, but then again, we are talking about a 7-seater compact crossover, primarily meant for, you know, carrying a family, carrying people, carrying cargo if you're using it for work. I don't expect it to handle like a GR Yaris, but for what it is, I think it scores pretty decently in my books. We're obviously going to be doing quite a bit of overtaking as well, because trunk roads, right? Get a bit of backlog. It's going to be interesting to see how the car performs from a lower speed. I'm expecting it to be better, obviously. Watch out for tapirs. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen one in my life before. Now, as to the main question regarding this car, why you'd buy it as opposed to everything else, really. I mean, you have so many new B segment sedans, your Almira, your City, the facelift Vios, and then obviously you have the X50, and then the Expander's direct competitors, the Rush, the Arus, the what else? The BRV. I mean, people who buy these cars, they buy it because they need it. What do they need? The 7-seater configuration. You can't get anything else that can carry 7 under 100,000 aside from these cars. Brand new, especially. I mean, you can buy a used, I don't know, Estima, a used Alphard, but you know, obviously the maintenance will be a bit different, the road tax will be a bit different, you know, higher CC and all that. The only reason why you buy this car is because you need the 7-seater configuration, and between the Expander and its direct competitors, I think if you have a look at the brochures, you compare them directly, it is very clear which stands out in terms of space, in terms of features. The only downside to this car, I think, is the fact that it comes with only 2 airbags. A 2020 car with 2 airbags. I think more needs to be done in that sense. I think they are aware as well that we probably wouldn't be happy with this, so they've given us other stuff like your surround view monitor, your reverse camera, and you know, your brake override system. The roads look so windy, it's like a slithering snake. But I tell you what though, aside from lacking a bit of power now because you know it's like a uphill terrain, the car does feel quite stable. I mean, I'm keeping up with the Myvi in the front, but I'm really having to squeeze the engine. If they ever come out with a newer edition of this Expander in a few years, I really hope they can forgo all this naturally aspirated engine and start adopting turbocharged engines, because if I had a turbocharged engine in this Expander, I think I'd be having so much more fun. Check out the roads on this. Really pushing the Expander to the absolute limit now in terms of its performance, the suspension, the chassis. I mean, I don't know. Look at this. If the car wasn't fun to drive, you wouldn't be seeing this. And like, you know, obviously this is not like as fun as driving a Golf GTI, of course, but you know, fun is fun. It can come from a Myvi, it can come from a Kanchil and Axia. Although this fun could be cut short very soon. It's like heavy rain ahead of us. Oh, in fact, it has already started. So that sucks. Okay, I guess you can see from the windscreen now that our day has effectively been ruined. Okay, I'm not sure if you're seeing this, but I did not expect to be brought here with the Expander, but okay, I think we are lost officially.
You all don't know how to come here, is it? You all stay put, I come and meet you all.
Yes, yes.
I'm sending one guy out to your here.
So it turns out we were actually lost. We were on the wrong route. We ended up in the wrong place, which was why the setting, the road condition was completely beyond what we expected. Don't believe me? Check out the Triton rescue car that came to like rescue us, so to speak. Sorry, Mitsubishi. Okay, that was quite a drive. That's the eco resort over there, but before we carry on with our lunch, I suppose you'd want to check out what's inside, right? So come along. So let's start with the back seat. Let me clear this off. This is usually what they give us on a media drive. So, back seat space. So I've got the driver's seat positioned in my driving position. I guess decent amount of leg room, plenty of headroom, and like with this right in front of you, I don't think you'll ever feel hot in the second row. In fact, the blower is actually very, very strong, and like if you were seated in the third row, this wouldn't be a problem at all. So let's try to adjust this to give me just the right amount of space, and then let's climb to the third row. Plenty of storage spaces, by the way. No armrest though. We're going to get on board from this side instead because I've already adjusted the seat on the other side. So you just pull this lever, it rolls forward, pretty straightforward, and the opening to get to the back is actually quite wide. So once on board, let's see. Headroom is adequate, I suppose. Plenty of leg room, but knee room is quite limited. Now, if you are not as tall, you probably feel quite snug over here, but for me, I probably deal with it for a short distance, but not for a long journey. Consolation is though, like I said, blower is right in front of you, and there are plenty of storage spaces both on the left and right, and on the right hand side here, you even get a 12-volt charger. That's useful, I suppose, for the kids, you know, and their gadgets and iPads and whatnot. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the Expander. Let's check out the boot because it's got plenty of storage spaces, and aside from the pockets that you see behind the front seats, there are also storage spaces under the boot floor. So I'm not sure if you can have a look. There's a little compartment here, there's a little compartment on the left, and then ding! For those of y'all who have plenty of shoes, like me, in the car, something like that is super convenient. Let me show you one last thing, maybe with the third row seats folded down, just to give you an idea of how much space you have. Let me load back up our stuff and go for a nice lunch. So you've heard of my first impressions of the new Expander, how it drives and all that, and you have seen how spacious it is on the inside, the amount of storage spaces that they have. But just before we end the video, I've got a little more to show you, just to give you an idea of what you can do with the Expander. Just look at how aggressive this thing looks. Obviously everything, especially on the exterior, is completely different. You get a front bumper extension, the grille design looks completely different. Instead of the horizontal lines, you get this sort of like vertical downward sloping lines. Let's check out the side. You've got these really cool blacked out rims, 18-inch in size. I wouldn't recommend that for your Expander. Let's see what they have at the back. This looks very, very aggressive, but check this out. Unfortunately, they're fake. But you know, no one will be able to tell, I suppose, from afar. I suppose it's quite cool to see what you can actually do to a supposedly family-friendly vehicle. There you have it, guys. The Mitsubishi Expander Media Drive. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do stay tuned though for our full review video coming up very soon.